think I'm pretty well done with my shaper. But I am going to leave it set up exactly the way it was, just in case I have to redo something here. But in the meantime, get it out of the way. And I got a huge cleanup job here. Now, because I've drawn this clock to scale, I know that the absolute minimum that the vertical pieces can be are 13.5 inches long. And one of the viewers suggested that I add an extra half an inch, and I've been thinking about it. I think I'm going to actually add a whole inch. So that will mean that the minimum will be 14.5 inches long. And the spindles, because I have to put them in the lathe and there's going to be a little bit of damage on each end, I better add another couple of inches on those. So the spindles will have to be about 16.5 inches long. Well, I think it's time to start cutting up this nice oak. And this is nice oak. And I've printed out my drawing to the actual size. And the reason I did that is so that what I can do is I can measure the width of each piece, and then I can set the fence on the table saw and make it a lot easier. And by the way, there's 21 vertical pieces. Now mind you, each spindle takes up 2 pieces, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's 12 pieces right there. Anyway, I think the easiest way to go with this is to cross-cut the pieces first and then rip them on the table saw after. So that's what we're going to do here. At least that's the plan. Now I've got one short piece here that's supposed to be a 1x6, but it's only about 5.5 inches. And a couple of long pieces here that are 1x5s, but they're really only 4.5 inches. And for the spindles, I know that they're going to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So I want to make sure that I cut them from the right piece. Well, that goes with all these pieces. I want to make sure I use the right piece, or I'm going to end up with a piece that's too narrow even for just pen blanks. Now here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is the back of the clock, and it's approximately 12.5 inches long. And if I was to use this 5.5 inch wide board, it might not work out as well as if I was to use the 4.5 inch wide board. Because if I go 4.5 times 3, it works out to 13.5 inches. So I'm going to have a piece that's about 1 inch. Well, that piece could be then trimmed down to make one of these, or one of these. I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. Now I know that I'm going to need several pieces that are 14.5 inches long. So I may as well cut those first. And as you know, I'm really big on measuring twice. Now these first 3 pieces, they're going to be for the back. Okay, we got almost 14 inches across. Only need 12.5. By the time I run these joints through the jointer, get them nice and square, glue this thing up, I should be able to cut off a little piece here. It'll be just right for something else. Well, unless I've miscalculated here, I should have just exactly enough pieces and some stuff left over for pen blanks. I have here what's called a glue line rip blade. The idea is it's supposed to do a nicer job along the edge so that you don't have to pass your piece through the jointer. But that's providing you go straight with it. Anyway, let's quickly change it here. I found that if I lower this down, I can get my hand in there a lot easier to get the nut off. And I don't want to cut my wrists here. Now, I've never dropped this yet, but it's always a first time. And then if I raise it back up, it makes it a little easier to get the wrenches on. And the reason I wear these gloves when when I do this is because if for some reason the wrench should slip, I'm not going to be cutting my hands on this thing. This doesn't have to be real tight. It would automatically tighten itself if it started to slip, so. There, we're done. These 3 pieces are for the back. Now they're not going to be run through the glue line blade, so I just want to pass them through the jointer here just to make sure that the edges are nice and flat and square. And also, better check here and make sure that this is still set the same way as the last time I used it. And it's nice and square. These pieces here are going to be for the spindles, and the lathe is going to be making a mess of the edges anyway, so I don't need to have them flush. However, these pieces here, I don't know where the glue line blade is going to cut and where it isn't. Well, it's definitely not going to cut on the edges, so I may as well get these edges nice and square. Now in theory I should be able to measure this, and because the drawing is printed out exactly to the right size, I should be able to transfer this measurement like this, and then if I lock the fence in place like that, then when I pass the work through here, because it's nice and flush there, as long as I hold it tight against the fence, this line should be nice and straight, and it should also be nice and smooth because this is a glue line blade. But that's in theory, and theory doesn't always work in my workshop for some reason. Well, this has actually turned out quite well. I just cut up the 4 3/4 inch square pieces that I need, and all that's left now is the 12 pieces to make up the spindles, and hopefully that's going to go just as well. Now these spindles are going to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and each one of these is 3/4 of an inch. So that should be 1.5 inches. Well, all the pieces now are laid out on the diagram. And I said there was 21 pieces. Well, actually, there's 23. Because I forgot that the back is made up out of 3 pieces. Well, this is going to make a lot more sense once you see it all put together. Anyway, I think I'm going to wind this video up, get it posted on YouTube, And tomorrow I'm going to glue a bunch of pieces together. And by the way, thank you for watching.